Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your sports anime watching despite not being even close to athletic hosts.
I am John, gonna hit one right out of the park.
And I'm CC.
Wait, that's neither of the sports, huh?
No, not even close. But maybe we'll get there eventually. Anyway, when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we got you covered. Hope you're all well rested, because we got a very sporty show for you today, as already alluded to. First, John will talk about not baseball, but the sunny beach volleyball girls from Harukana Receive. And then I will dig into the tense, dramatic battlefield that is the world of high school badminton, apparently, in Hanebado. So yeah, grab your balls and rackets. Wait, that did not sound right at all. Let's try that again. Grab your drinks and towels and get ready to get wet with sweat slightly better. We'll be right back.
I don't normally go for the sports anime too often.
How dare you?
I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I don't watch all the Yoa Pedals and the Kurokos and the insert sports anime / manga name here of your choice. But I don't know. I got interested in Harukana Receive. Wonder why that was. So the basic gist of the plot is that Haruka Ozora is a high school second year, and she's just moved to Okinawa. For those of you who aren't too familiar with Japanese geography, that's like way, way, way south of the main four islands. Like very disparate and far away from the mainland, basically. Haruka is generally cheerful and optimistic, but there's one thing she feels insecure about, and that she's taller than most other girls. Kanata Higa, her cousin, who's of the same age, meets her when she gets to Okinawa, and the one hang-up that she has, that she had to quit her beloved beach volleyball in the past because she was too short. And through some twist of fate, these mismatched cousins find themselves paired up as a beach volleyball team. How will this duo play together in a sport where the presence of one's teammate is more important than anything? So the setup for the story, comes across pretty basic.
Well, most sports anime setups are pretty basic, to be honest, as an expert.
An expert, you say?
Yes, indeed. Yet to be verified. Anyway,
why don't you have that blue check mark next to your name?
I'm definitely. Don't worry, I'll get there. And no, but seriously, like a lot of sports anime, like start, with a pretty simple premise that just being two people interested in the same sport, which is kind of the same here, but, we at least have this interesting dynamic of those two characters being insecure about, their physique in not the typical anime way, which, oh no, my boobs are too fucking small, which doesn't really happen in the show, if I remember correctly. That is refreshing.
I mean, the service is there, but it's not.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the focus.
Oh, no. Oh, boy, is the service there. But we'll get to that. Continue, please.
The story about, these two girls who are sort of distant cousins, I'd say, wouldn't you?
Yeah. It doesn't feel like they have met each other very often. So
yeah. And Haruka wants to become more comfortable around, her cousin Kanata, and they sort of have trouble getting used to each other a bit. But when they sort of start to see that they have this common interest in beach volleyball, it sort of slowly starts to bring them together. Like Kanata has her past that she's trying to get over, where she used to be a volleyballer.
Very successful one at that.
Yes. And Kanata has her past as playing volleyball with her former partner Narumi, and when she just feels like she just kind of can't keep pace with her, that's when she sort of falls out of the sport, out of her interest with it. But along comes Haruka and says, hey, we can do this thing together, you and I. And there's a lot of getting over past misgivings on Kanata's part, and Haruka not sure if she can keep pace with her cousin because, obviously she's less experienced in playing this sport, but she's raring to go to learn more and to get into this sport and really give it her all.
Yeah, and it's a completely different dynamic from what Kanata had before with Narumi, because Narumi is like this very. I mean, they liked each other, they were very fond of each other, but it always, from what we see from Narumi, is she's like more this soft-spoken, cold person, maybe a bit, like, she is not that outward, that energetic, and Haruka is the complete opposite. So at that point in her life, Kanata maybe needed like this. Also, she being now not, the one... who feels like she is the one lacking, maybe, although she really isn't. But she is the one who can teach someone. Yeah, she can be a mentor for someone, and she doesn't have to. She doesn't. When working with Haruka, she probably doesn't have the feeling like she has to shoulder the responsibility, or she has to fulfill some kind of. I don't know, some expectation that she thinks Narumi always had towards her, because Haruka is a different person. Haruka is not completely, but kind of new to the sport and everything, and has a completely different approach. And I mean, as we later learn, that is also not what Narumi expected of her, not at all. But, that's what Kanata thought she did. And, there are some unspoken words between those two. And that is not the most, prominent thing in this show, I would say. Like, we have some important emotional moments in that regard, but not that many. I would assume that would happen in the next season, the resolution of that. But, there are some other things happening in this first season that, are more important, I guess, or, there are more focus on other characters.
Yeah, this is... This part of the story that's being told is definitely more about... I feel like coming out of your shell, especially for Kanata in particular. And, obviously Haruka is the one that helps do this for her. And you could probably argue a bit that, Claire and Emily help out as well, who are
very important
rival volleyballers who, they all train together and, hone their skills. So it makes...
they become part of the same club.
Yes, they all sort of bond together that way. And I feel like this show, compared to other sports anime that we've talked about, or bits and pieces that I've seen from other ones in the past, this one isn't. It's more easygoing than it is high energy. And I mean, there are some exciting parts to this show, like. There are some of the volleyball games where there were a couple of rallies in particular that were really exciting and great to watch.
The final match in particular is very good.
Definitely. But it's not one of those that's always on like a Haikyuu or a Kuroko's basketball.
Exactly. It's very laid back sometimes. You get a lot of slow-mos, a lot of slow character pans. Character movements, some, talking in between and stuff like that. I mean, you have that in other sports anime too. But this show really feels like just look at the theme. Like, look at the location, everything. It all matches. The show kind of feels like a nice summer vacation. Like this nice, sunny, warm, sometimes kind of uneventful, but, fun laid-back show, or like this fun laid-back summer vacation experience that you would have, where you make some new friends and have a generally good time, but it's not tense or dramatic. There are some kind of emotionally dramatic or engaging moments, but they're not overplayed. They're not like, oh my god, this is life and death, unlike in another show, which we'll get to later. But this is all of this feels just very, very nice. Very, very good, happy feel times. This is what the show is.
Yeah, I mean, this show definitely wants to give everyone their good ending to varying degrees,
yeah.
maybe. But it's an easy watch, you know. You don't have to be on the edge of your seat too often.
Yeah, it's only 12 episodes.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind if they came back to this at some point, but I don't think there's been any sort of announcement or teaser at this point.
There's enough space. I mean, they're teasing the obvious story development, you know.
Oh, yeah.
At the end, it's like, okay, this is where the show definitely would go next, and it makes total sense. But, you know, let's see if we actually get to see that.
Mm-hmm. I will say there were some hit and miss animation moments in this show.
Yeah.
I mean, the show was headed up by C2C, which I believe was like Creative 2 Challenge. I think that's what it's short for. And they've worked on other stuff like Aquarian Logos, High School Fleet, one of the Tenchi Muyo Ryo Oki OVAs, and World End, which we spoke briefly about a while back. I can't dig the episode number out of my head, but sorry.
Look it up, people. We now have a very nice review index on our homepage that you can go to. And yeah, what a surprise. I don't know if I've actually mentioned that on the show before. I think I did. But in episode before this one or something. But yeah, you can go on our site now and look up all the shows we reviewed, sorted in alphabetical order. And yeah, then you can just look up the review for World's End, which also has an incredibly long title. I think it's What Do You Do at the End of the World? Will You Save Me? Blah, blah, blah. It's a light novel title. So yeah.
Light novel titles just the best.
Yeah, it's not it's very easy to see in the index because it's probably the longest reviewed title we've in there, so you can find it, and then that link will immediately lead you to the episode that we reviewed the respective show on. So yeah, if you're just interested, if you're just a newcomer to the show and you're like, hey, I wonder what these guys else reviewed, but you don't want to like click your way through all of our episodes to see what we did, just go to our homepage, animebrainfreeze.com, check the review index, and just look at what shows pique your interest, what you've heard of, what you think, oh, okay, maybe I always want to hear what that show was about, or if that is any good. And then, yeah, you can just click on that and listen to our review. Anyway, John, continue with
That is animebrainfreeze.com.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm not personally super familiar with C2C's other works. I think, you know, looking up their credits, they've done a whole lot of other like in-between stuff on other shows, but they haven't headed up a whole lot of productions themselves. So, you know, they're a younger studio, and it shows a little bit, but I don't think the series goes any worse for the wear for it. I feel like I kind of want to touch on one of the other characters real quick, Akari. She was like, because somehow I can't escape my fate. She's like, oh, I'm the idol girl. I want to get good at volleyball too, so I can make a name for myself. What did you contribute to this show, honey?
Yeah, well, a CG abomination she contributed. True to the Love Life legacy. Her special opening where she dreams about being an idol girl with her, volleyball club friend backup is partially rendered in CG, and it looks horrid. So, yeah.
I almost forgot that.
Yeah. You repressed that memory. But yeah, that not one of the highlights of this show. But yeah, she's just in there because she got that idea in her head that to become an idol, she needs some special theme for her thing, and that, and some good-looking people who match her style, and that's why she has her eye on Claire and Emily and the volleyball club. And that all turns into her actually joining the club because it's fun and she likes the girls and everything, which, again, plays to the summer vacation theme where you meet people that you maybe doesn't have much in common, especially as kids, as teenagers, that you maybe don't have that much in common on the outside with, but you just become friends easily because, there's a nice atmosphere and everything, and, we're all having fun, and I guess this is where it's going. I mean, she puts some work in. She takes part in the activities, and she takes part in the training, and she cheers the girls on and everything, and helps them with some stuff, but you're right, it's like, she is not really an integral part in the key emotional moments of the show. And when it's like at the very end, we only could get this for her because you did this particular thing for us. I was like, really? That's what got you here? I don't think so. No. I don't know who says this. I think Claire was it Claire? Was it Haruka?
I think so.
I don't know, one of those two, I think, but I was, no, you all did that. All of you did that by yourself. That didn't really have to do anything with those, nice little accessoires there. But yeah, I mean, she is kind of a superfluous character, but she doesn't really detract from the show in any way. It's not like she gets so much screen time that it feels like, oh my god, why would you waste so much time on Akari when you could spend more time on, our 4 main characters in this part of the story.
Just the same, I would have liked if she had a little more impact than none at all.
Yeah, true. It's really indicative with where the show is going with her when you look at the final image of the OP, where it's like, you got these 4 armbands that she makes for the characters, all huddled together, and then there's a 5th one on the sideline that doesn't really, have any part of the other ones. And it's like, yeah, well, that's Akari. That's her. She is there, but, she is not really a part of all this. So, yeah, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how the show acknowledges that she's only an on-the-side thing. And you're right. It would have been nice if she had, like, an integral part in this, or a more integral part in this. So, yeah. But I'm still kind of happy with what we got with, in terms of with the dynamic between Haruka, Kanata, and Claire and Emily, especially in regards, to how the show wraps up. And I think that how that built up to that, it was kind of an inevitable thing to where it was going at the end. But still, the way it was staged, the key emotional moments there and everything were really good. And I think that was probably the highlight of the show, I guess.
Yeah, that was definitely its strength, was the dynamic between all of the characters.
Yeah, especially those 4. It's like, okay, we get what these characters are about. All of these are sympathetic characters. I like Haruka, I like Kanata, I like Claire and Emily a lot. Their mom's great. Marissa is really fun. I wish she also was more in this more.
And she's got her life in America. So.
Yeah. With her, Jesus, talking about America, man, fucking Claire's room is like the most American thing. I really, instead of a dog, she needed a bald eagle as a pet. That would have fit more, judging from how our room looks. It's kind of ridiculous. But it's fun. Those characters are fun and energetic and sympathetic and everything. And yeah, so good stuff in that regard. Talking about good stuff, if you are an ass guy or girl, this show might be for you. Because there's a lot of focus on the butts in this show. Holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, they don't shy away from that.
No, I mean, it comes with the territory because, this is a beach volleyball anime, so all the girls are running around in swimsuits or bikinis. So, yeah, you get a lot of cleavage, you get a lot of ass, and they don't really linger on it. It's not like, oh, this is the only focus, but there's a lot of butt shots in this. Like, really. Yeah. And that's no critique here, because they're good-looking butts. So, there you go. It's just, be aware of that and don't expect like, oh, this is solely focused on the sport or anything. No, there's a lot of fan service in the show. Just, being honest with you. And it's not the kind of icky fan service. It's not like where it's constantly, I don't know, the girls doing suggestive poses or anything. Everything they do still feels like, okay, that's what they would do right now in a beach volleyball match. That's like, you know, like pulling at their pants and, like, you know, letting the sand fall out that accumulated in their fucking pants and everything. It, you know, all of that makes sense, and it's not like, oh, let's reveal some more flesh of those characters. So
yeah, there's a show this season that is playing that card way more than it should. So
yeah,
Harukana Receive is fine in comparison. Yeah,
there's fan service is there, but it's very tame. It's always hard to call fan service classy, but I still would Harukana Receive call a more classy example of fan service. And you know, that could have gone the other way, because this is a very Yuri show. Like, not a single dude in this series, I think. Not one sausage invited to that clam party. It's like it's like really. I was looking at some point, and the show really makes a joke, even makes a joke out of that at one point. I think where it's like, "Oh, granddad, you're leaving," and then they like cut to the turtle of the house, the pet turtle, and it's like, okay, all right. Well, at least you acknowledge that, and I mean that's kind of refreshing, because I guess in that kind of genre you see that more often, but I don't watch shows like that often. So it's like, okay, this is a completely exclusively female cast, and that's not bad. That's cool. Like, all right, but since this is a very Yuri show, could have gone like into, I don't know, heavy, weirdly sexually undertones, where like the girls like constantly salivate over each other all the time, only to be, you know, boner material for the guys watching it. That could have also there are shows like that out there, without a doubt. But Harukana Receive is not that. There are some moments in there where it's like, oh, okay, we have like cute playful encounters. You know, there's a scene where Haruka like softly blows wind into Kanata's ear, and, you know, there are some ass smacks here and there, but that's the extent of that, and it doesn't go overboard.
Yeah, a lot of the ass smacks are courtesy of Claire.
Yes, that's her character. But aside from that, like I said, very tame in the fan service department, and even if you are not fond of that, generally, I don't think the show will offend you. All the people who like your fan service, there's a lot of it in it for you, I think. So yeah, I think that should be mentioned.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the other really strong points of the show is the music.
Yes, good stuff.
It was done by a Swedish DJ named Rasmus Faber. And like any time that music kicked in, it was like all of them were like real bangers, man.
Yeah, lots of cool rhythm guitar music, especially like.
Anytime that rhythm guitar hit, it was just like, ooh.
Yeah. Ba ba bam, ba 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 bam.
It felt good, man.
Yeah, it supports, again, like in terms of being having a coherent theme, this show is really well done. Like you got, you know, the nice summer vacation vibe that all matches how the characters interact and develop, how the matches play out and everything. And then, again, the music also plays into that, because it also has this nice summer, you know, Southern European rhythmic guitar vibe that is like, I don't know, it all feels right. It all matches up very well. So it supports the summer vacation feel a lot. And yeah, and the songs themselves are also really good. So
it's amazing how on brand everything about this show really was, you know?
Yeah. It feels really well crafted with, you know, having a coherent vision for what it wants to be, which is not like a super complicated product, not at all. It's, like I said, easygoing, and not that many super high points, but also no low points really. So yeah, it's just, you know, a nice, laid back, well produced show. All of that works. All of that works.
Hey man, I walked away from this show really enjoying it, you know, for without sounding too redundant, for pretty much all the reasons that we had listed off previously. And I'm not, super big into sports anime, or there's not really a whole lot. Or, geez, the last one that really grabbed my attention was Eye Shield 21 100 years ago.
That's been a while, yes.
Yeah, and that's probably something I wouldn't mind revisiting at some point, because I think the manga for that is it still going? Maybe,
I don't know, possibly. I think the creator has done something else.
Probably. Didn't think to really research that for this discussion. Just to be honest, dear listeners, it just kind of popped into my mind. But yeah, I mean, so sports anime don't usually grab me, although after your impassioned discussion about Yowamushi Pedal a few weeks back, I wouldn't mind dedicating some time to that, but that is also a large chunk of time that I would have to put in to get caught up.
Yeah, and it will get only bigger, because I'm pretty sure we'll get another season of that. So yeah, I'm not sure if we get another season of Harukana Receive though. So we'll see. I wouldn't mind it, though. Yeah,
it'd be a nice surprise if they announce in a year or two that, season 2 is coming. I'd sit down and watch it. I mean, I think it's definitely worth experiencing, because, it is laid back, it's enjoyable, but, it's not without its exciting moments. So it strikes a good balance.
Like, don't go into this show expecting, your crazy super move bullshit like from Yowamushi Pedal, like you mentioned, or Kuroko's Basketball. Like, it's slow, laid back sports anime with nice atmosphere and sympathetic characters, but there's not that much character development. There is some in there, definitely, but it's mostly like girls having fun in the sun, becoming friends and having a good time. And if that is enough for you, check the series out. If it's not, if you're thinking, that sounds too boring for me, that might be the case eventually. That's what it come down to. Maybe check out a few episodes and see if it's for you. I can totally understand if you think that it's too slow for you or something. But if you need to relax, I don't know if I would call this an Iyashike anime. but in a way it kind of is, just in terms of the atmosphere and the feeling. That
if you need a reminder of your summer vacation.
Yeah, if you ever had one of those. That series might rekindle the positive memories you have for that. So, yeah, nice trip down memory lane or something. So yeah, give it a try, I think.
You only have everything to gain.
Nagisa Aragaki is the captain of the badminton club at Kitokomachi High School. Ever since she was hopelessly beaten in a tournament match, she has become stricter in her training, colder towards her teammates, and more ruthless towards her opponents, driven by the fear that all the effort and time put into her passion were ultimately in vain. But the arrival of a potential new club member at her school heralds a drastic change in Nagisa's life. That person is Ayano Hanesaki, badminton prodigy, a daughter of the former champion Uchika Hanesaki, and also the nemesis that mercilessly pummeled Nagisa into defeat 6 months ago. Tutored by the new coach of the club, the former Olympic selectee Kentaro Tachibana, they must learn to become team members and help each other to face their personal demons. So yeah, Hanebado is based on a manga by Kosuke Hamada, which started in 2013, and by now has 13 volumes and is still running. He also did two other series, I think, which I'm not familiar with. The series, the anime series, is produced by Leiden Films, which I did not know until, I looked this up for the review, and which caught me completely off guard and made me triple check my sources, because besides doing Boarding School Juliet right now, which according to you doesn't look too shabby, the other stuff I know from them is Heroic Legend of Arslan, Killing Bites, and Terraformers. They also produced Berserk, but they were not responsible for the animation there, I think, so that doesn't really count. But yeah, all not shows I would describe as visually appealing. I mean, I like Killing Bites a lot, but that one profited from being well-directed and being a gigantic trash fest, so expectations were kind of low there, and, shortcuts taken were easily forgiven. Hanebado, however, is visually stunning. there are some rough moments and quality drops during some of the dialogue-driven scenes, some off-metal characters, some shoddy faces and everything, but those hiccups are kind of rare, in my opinion, that are almost completely wiped from memory by the actual badminton matches in the show, which look ridiculously good. Like ultra-fluid, highly detailed character animation, incredibly well-staged and directed action scenes during the encounters on the court. Just amazing. It's just a feast to look at. And just like Harukana Receive, this is more of a realistic sports anime show, so you got no super moves or people jumping 30 feet into the air or something. But man, does it look like all fast and powerful and sometimes downright breathtaking. Like, a lot of moments in this show just left me like with my mouth open, like, holy shit. And especially after learning that Leidenfilms did this, I was like, what? I mentioned in my review of Megalobox that I prefer my sports anime as crazy as possible, but there being no, hilarious shonen bullshit in Hanebado doesn't bother me because the matches are staged and animated incredibly well. So, there not being any super moves like in Captain Tsubasa, Ippo, Kuroko, or Yowamushi didn't really vex me. I mean, it didn't in Harukana Receive either, but again, that series has a completely different tone. If I have drama in my sports anime, I also want it to look good. So, since Harukana Receive didn't really have that, I also didn't really expect it to go all out in the matches, and even some of those look good, so there you go. But yeah, I can appreciate both styles of sports anime if they're done right, and yeah, Hanebado definitely is done right in terms of its visuals. There are probably some shortcuts taken during the quick scenes in the matches as well, but I was so enthralled most of the time, I did not notice them. Only when revisiting some of the scenes and like pausing them and seeing like, okay, that face looks weird in that specific moment. But Yuri on Ice had that as well. When you grab screenshots from that might look super weird, but in motion, it firstly doesn't register with you. And secondly, it doesn't, if it does, register with you. If you actually see it, doesn't really matter because, if the actual animation is good and fluid, you are willing to forgive that. So, yeah. So, in the actual show, like I said, when watching it, I didn't notice it because I was fully engaged with the action on display here. The first match alone, where we see Nagisa getting ground into the dust by Ayano, is a sight to behold. There was a lot of work put into the accuracy of the body and muscle movements as well. Like I said in our sneak peek, they must have rotoscoped the shit out of actual badminton matches and then enhanced those with, anime magic. And boy, are the results impressive. I cannot believe Leidenfilms made this. I stand in awe, as they say. And yeah, it's not like I could have seen this coming if I had looked at the cast beforehand, like the production cast. Like the director Shinpei Esakai was a storyboard artist and episode director for stuff like Sengoku Basara, Attack on Titan, and Blue Exorcist. But he also worked on stinkers like Guilty Crown and Black Rock Shooter. And his two main director gigs so far have been Monster Strike the Movie and fucking Gunslinger Stratos. Yeah, right.
Wow, that's
a
very colorful history.
Yeah, not that stellar of a track record necessarily. The animation directors are Makoto Ino and Satoshi Kimura. Ino has at least worked on the third Madoka movie and as an animation director as well, but Kimura has mostly filled that role on the Leidenfilms stuff I mentioned before that did not look good at all, kinda. So yeah, I have no idea what happened here, but I'm very glad it did, so yeah. Very nice surprise in retrospect because, I did not know when I watched the show who actually worked on this and who was responsible for this. So yeah, I don't know how this happened. Anyway.
Every so often you're like Studio Dean and you do something good for once and then you fall back on your old habits.
Yeah, I wonder if it was like if there was so much budget pumped into this or if there was some other power player responsible for some part of the production.
Well, looking at the list of all the companies involved, it looks like they called in a lot of favors.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason.
I'm seeing names like Bones, Production IG, White Fox, like all of these big names.
Yeah, probably. So I wonder if not, especially when you say production IG, maybe someone from Haikyuu was working on this as well, who knew what they were doing, and that shows. So yeah,
could be
great stuff. Just in terms of visuals, this show is, I have nothing to criticize here, or anything substantial, because the matches are just amazing. As infinitely rewatchable in my opinion. I also want to highlight the music because we have a very familiar face here, Tatsuya Kato, who has done many anime soundtracks we both love, namely Love Live Sunshine and Food Wars. He also worked on the music for Body Complex and recently reviewed Starlight, so we will hear about him very soon again. But yeah, from what I've seen or rather heard from him until now, this might possibly be his best work so far. We mostly get a great mix of... I possibly have said that multiple times when we talked about him, but we mostly get the usual great mix of piano and string heavy tunes here, but they are all pretty varied and hit all the right dramatic and emotional beats. I love the music in this show. I think it's fantastic. It does everything it needs to, and there's some really well emphasized emotional moments in the show by the music alone. So yeah, Kato delivers yet again. He hasn't failed us yet. Good stuff. So let's talk about the story. And after that boatload of praise sung for the production of the show, this is where I have to dial down my enthusiasm a notch. Just a bit, but still. I also want to talk about some of the stuff a bit more in depth than usual, so there will be story spoilers for at least up to episode 4 of the show. Be aware of that if you don't want to know anything. But yeah, so this story, as you might correctly assume from the setup, is mainly about our two rivals, Ayano and Nagisa. Nagisa is still dealing with the emotional trauma from the match against Ayano. She also has some physical problems with her knee, which I can relate to very much.
Same here.
Yeah. And, we're both not playing professional sports, so that must really suck. And, that only multiplies her worries about her future. So lots of baggage here she has to work through during the course of the series. And naturally, the process to overcoming that gets slowly kicked into gear when Ayano shows up. And Ayano, on the other side, might look like a well-composed, kind of laid-back teenager on the outside, but on the inside, she is a fucking mess. She has spent most of her childhood adoring her gifted mother, naturally taking up badminton as well, partially because it was fun, but mostly to be acknowledged by her mom. And when she loses an important match, her mother pretty much abandons her, moving to Europe and continuing her career there. It's not really made clear if that was kind of her plan from the beginning, if she wanted to go to Denmark at some point and, that was just bad timing on her part, or if it was actual neglect or emotional abuse. I'm leaning towards the latter, though. Or if they had any kind of exchange after that, but apparently not. So regardless, it inflicts severe emotional and psychological trauma on Ayano, who naturally blames herself for being left alone with her grandparents taking care of her from that moment on. And all of that led her to mindlessly devoting herself to badminton like a machine, downright terminating every opponent appearing before her for a while. That's also the phase where she encountered Nagisa for the first time and kicked the shit out of her, metaphorically. So yeah, that, all those gears are interconnected here. And their fates are intertwined. And naturally, there is a confrontation on the horizon that the series is building towards. But yeah, after that, at some point in time before the show happens, Ayano then decides, apparently, that she doesn't want to live like that anymore and would rather completely distance herself from badminton and all the bad feelings and memories of her mom it brought into her life, which, is not really a solution, but it is a very understandable choice, in my opinion. And that's where she's at when we meet her in the first episode. And she, just by chance and instinct during one of her classmates testing out in the tennis match, happens to put her abilities on display because she's there and she reflects a ball that is, I don't know if it's aimed for her head or someone else. Anyway, but yeah, people witness that, see her abilities, and especially the new coach of the volleyball team. And that spurns him and her friend Elena on to get her to join the team and play badminton again, even though Ayano doesn't really want to do that. Understandably so. But she doesn't elaborate on why. She doesn't say why she stopped playing badminton, why she doesn't want to do it anymore. So Elena doesn't let up because they are childhood friends, and she remembers Ayano loving to play badminton as a child. So she thinks this is what Ayano needs to be happy again. Which is nice in a way, but also kind of reckless and naive. I mean, she's not a psychiatrist. She's, not a shrink, but, just forcing someone to work through their trauma like that might work for some people, I guess. But at this point in the story, Ayano is way too emotionally unstable for that approach to not have serious repercussions. And at first it seems to be going well. Ayano joins the club, slowly forms a connection with Nagisa and some of the other team members. And when she and Nagisa play against each other, she actually manages to recapture some of the, former love and positive feelings she associated with badminton before everything went to hell. And right when we get to that point in the story, which is by the end of episode 3, and you think, how nice, now the healing process for both of these characters can begin, everything goes to shit again. Because this is when Connie, Ayano's sister, enters the picture. So apparently, Ayano's mother adopted an orphan during her time in Denmark, nurturing her hidden talents and making her one of the best badminton players in the world. But since Uchika is apparently one of the most incompetent mothers in existence, instead of, introducing the sisters to each other the right way, she paints this picture for Connie of Ayano being her precious daughter and having inherited all of her talent, which naturally makes Connie want to beat the living shit out of Ayano in a badminton match to be acknowledged as an equal and a true member of the Hanesaki family.
Jesus, Mother of the Year.
Yeah. So as you can imagine, her mom leaving her behind and basically starting a new life with a new daughter that she apparently never felt necessary to tell her other daughter about. Ayano takes all of that incredibly well. No, she doesn't. She completely breaks down all the progress she has made with the help of Elena, kind of brute forcing her into this position, and Nagisa and her coach Kentaro doing some actual work to, rekindle some of her self-respect and love for badminton, is crushed in an instant. And she reverts to what I like to call Psycho Ayano mode. I don't know if you've seen some screen caps from that show, maybe, but she,
I've seen some bits and pieces.
Yeah, she uses, this scary, machine-like, efficient play in her matches, gets this empty stare in her eyes, and sometimes creepy smile on her face. And she's cold-hearted, makes fun of her teammates and opponents that try their hardest to win but fail. She is effectively broken.
Very yandere, huh?
Oh yeah. She is badminton yandere to the max. Yeah. Good times. Like I said, kind of the complete opposite of Harukana Receive in that regard. It's all a drama and despair. And yeah, the rest of the series and the most interesting part, besides, the incredibly good-looking matches, is basically the viewer wondering if there even is a way to fix her at this point. Naturally, all of this gets even more complicated when her mother re-enters the picture, which isn't really a spoiler because as the story is set up, this was inevitable. But yeah, Shitbag Mom utters the legendary line, and I kid you not, before you wanted to be acknowledged by me, that's why you started playing badminton, but now you can play badminton without me, that's why I came back.
What?
Seriously, Uchika is the fucking worst. I don't know how many times I loudly yelled at every cast member to tear out her shriveled raisin of a heart and let her bleed out on the fucking floor. Holy shit. Shitty anime mom is not as common as shitty anime dad. But boy, is Uchika a top contender for the crown here. Howdy. Woo! She is the worst. She is She is horrible. She's a horrible, horrible person. And I feel like the show, we'll get to that, but yeah. There are more problems with that character, if you can believe it. But yeah, so this is the series' main theme. Will Ayano be able to turn her life around? Will Nagisa? Can they open up again? Can they learn to love badminton again without all the worries and emotional baggage? And that is the most interesting stuff in the show, without a doubt. The problem is the show does not take enough time to slowly bring that conflict to a satisfying, well-earned conclusion. It's not even the focus for half of its runtime. The other half is spent on the other team members, some of their matches, some of their problems, and their relationship to Nagisa and Ayano, respectively. And the show has only 13 episodes, and half of that time is not spent on our main characters' arcs, but, Ayano's rival, Nagisa's best friend, her ex-senpai and rival, two of the team members, Ebina and Hayama, which is probably the worst arc of the bunch. Like, the show spends way too much of its limited runtime on those two, and that arc doesn't go anywhere interesting or emotional, engaging or rewarding. It's just, why is this in there? Why? Why did you bother with this? This doesn't do anything. This doesn't relate to anything. This doesn't matter. I don't care about these two characters. You're wasting time. You know, the thing that I didn't necessarily feel with Akari in Harukana Receive, because there was not that important big thing that those moments detracted from. In Hanebado, this happens constantly, where it's like, no, why are you spending time on this? I don't care. This should be, you should spend this time to develop Ayano and fucking Nagisa further, or, Connie, or her fucking shitbag mom and everything. And you don't. You spend too much time on these characters that don't matter in the long run. And a lot of these side characters just feel incredibly underdeveloped and/or kind of boring and flat. And I guess the reason for that is there was a lot of meat cut when adapting the manga material, at least from what I garnered while doing some research. Like, trying to shrink it down to 13 episodes of anime, and all of that is very tangible in certain episodes of the show. And that doesn't only apply to the side characters as well. Some of Ayano's development also feels like it's missing a few important beats. Like, she's sometimes switching between cold heartless bitch and cute ball of friendly fluff on a whim. And it feels very erratic and at times a bit improvised. And of course you can mark that down to her being an emotionally abused, traumatized, and broken teenager. But still, it often feels more like an oversight in the narrative structure than an actual character trait. And yeah, they also really go a bit too far when it comes to her psycho mode sometimes, in my opinion. Like, so much so that her face gets so distorted and her remarks become so, like, almost Disney villainish vicious that it's bordering on being comical. So a bit more restraint in that department would have gone a long way here. And we also don't get to spend enough time with Connie, who would have been or should have been the most integral part of this story besides Nagisa, Ayano, and Uchika, who, also, again, enters the picture very late. But Connie gets introduced pretty early, and they could have done a lot of stuff with her, but she kind of gets dropped by the wayside pretty quickly, which is also a shame. Like, that triangle of character interaction would have, if the show had focused on that would have been the strongest part. And Connie is really only really featured prominently in like 2 or 3 episodes. And that's kind of lame considering how an important emotional part she plays and what her appearance like results into. And the show doesn't do enough with that, not at all. It really feels like the show should have either focused on our main set of characters and completely dropped any development of the side characters, or it should have been at least a 2-core series with 24 or 26 episodes. But this is all of this feels like a weird compromise, like a lot of times in that show. Like, okay, we want to do that, but we also want to do that to do the manga justice, and that way, they kind of, both those parts come short in certain departments, fall short in certain departments. So that's kind of a shame. because that show had a lot of potential. But what we got feels very fractured, sometimes rushed, and often unfocused. Yeah. So, not too happy with that. Another big gripe I have is with the ending of the show, and I'll try not to be too specific here, but I think it needs to be mentioned. We get a satisfying resolution when it comes to Nagisa's side of the story, and the final emotional confrontation between her and Ayano is really great. I really don't have anything to complain there. Nagisa's character is well structured, it's well constructed. Her story arc gets, built up really well and brought to a good conclusion. It all makes sense. It all feels good. But the thing I was hoping for the entire time in regards to Ayano, namely shitbag anime mom Uchika getting any kind of comeuppance for the horrible crap she pulled over and over again, that doesn't happen. She tries to reconnect with Ayano. Ayano blocks her off, and then they have a small interaction at the end of the show that does not end with Ayano bitch slapping the shit out of her mom. So, as you can imagine, I was not happy there either. She doesn't even yell in her face that she is an asshole or something. And Uchika also never really apologizes for her behavior either, because why would she, right? The ending was just so frustrating to me, and I'm still kind of wondering if it wouldn't be the best for Ayano to step away from badminton forever and tell her mom to go fuck herself. God knows she deserves at least that. And that is not the resolution that show should have had. Ayano should have taken the first steps, at least, to tell her moms her feelings honestly and loudly, and then work through that, maybe together with her, and maybe together with her sister. And the show doesn't really do that. I don't know if it ends before it can do that, or it doesn't want to do that, but it just feels like the most important stuff gets left by the wayside at the end, and that felt a bit unsatisfying. I gotta say that is a shame. Like I said, the manga is still running, but I have my doubts that we'll get another season of the anime because the main characters' arcs are kind of complete in a way. I mean, like I said, Ayano's is not really, because there is still a lot of stuff to work through for her, in my opinion, even though she's now, okay, I'm independent from my mom, but even though, I haven't told her off and everything. But it's still okay, this is kind of feels like an ending point for the show, and we get at the end. So I don't think we get a continuation of this. And yeah, even though I'm not completely happy with the resolution, at least there is one. So I don't really know where the story would go from here. I mean, you could do some more stuff with Ayano, but Nagisa, I feel like her character is kind of done here. She could maybe help Ayano work through some of her stuff some more, but their relationship and what they come down to and their relationship they have at the end of the show is kind of, okay, this is finished. We don't really need to go anywhere from here when it comes to those two characters. So since they're the main characters, I don't really know, unless the show completely would focus on Ayano in the next season, where it would go. Now, my complaints about the story might have sounded very harsh, intentionally, but despite my misgivings about how they handled that part of the series, I would still recommend to check out the show. It looks fantastic. It has excellent music, exciting matches, cool character designs, and even though some of the character development doesn't work or pan out the way I hoped it would, there are some genuinely great emotional gripping and emotionally satisfying moments in the show. In between, like I said, and the final, conclusion of Ayano's and Nagisa's arc is really good. The first time Connie appears on the scene, really good, really well staged. All of that is, all the characters' emotions are brought across very well in the actual matches, which sports anime like to do a lot. It's these characters talk to each other through their sport. And yeah, that's also what happens in this, and it's all done really well. Just be aware that at the end of the show, you might not be too happy with how it wraps up in some regard, especially when it comes to Ayano's character. It's the first time you hear about Uchika and you see her doing what she does, and you went, God, I hope she really gets that fucking thrown in her face at some point. Nope, that doesn't happen. I'm sorry. I wish it would, but that just doesn't happen. No catharsis there, really, not at all. And that I wish it was in there. I wonder if it's in the manga. I kind of, if we don't get a new season of the anime, I'm kind of intrigued to check out the manga, especially since the side characters seem to be much more well developed in there. I might check that out and see if we get also a better conclusion to the Ayano Uchika arc there. But yeah, the way the show ended, there's a lot left to be decided, at least when it comes to that particular character arc. But like I said, regardless, there is enough in that show to make it worth a watch, especially since it's only 13 episodes. It's very entertaining all the way. It's never boring. It's like, okay, there's always something happening, be it an exciting match. Okay, like I said, that one side story with those two characters from the club that doesn't go anywhere, that's maybe the boring part. And that's too much in there, but still, we got enough interesting stuff in the show, and their story never takes up a whole episode. It takes part of an episode, a way too big part of an episode, but it's not like it's not completely taking over at some point. So yeah, there's enough in Hanebado that there's enough to like in Hanebado, especially the visuals, especially the music. Like the whole production thing is amazing. The story drops a few beats here and there, has some problems definitely, and doesn't end the way I wanted it to. But I think the show is definitely still worth a watch just for the things that really work in the show, because those work really well. So yeah, Hanebado, without a doubt a flawed series, but in my opinion still worth your time. And that is a wrap on the 61st episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our show is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to vrt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Our show is available on most of the popular podcast services, but it's always worth visiting animebrainfreeze.com for some interesting articles linked in our episode release posts. Follow us on Twitter at animebrainfreeze. We tweet regular updates and fun anime-related stuff there. Leave us comments and questions on Facebook and our YouTube channel, or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next show. Macht's gut.
Take care, everybody. Next time on Anime Brain Freeze,
we fend off a Mongol invasion.
We'll aim to become top star, but at what cost?
And we'll sink our teeth into some nasty vampires.